What's up, everybody? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me, so I know we're good to go here. All right. What's everybody drinking? I have a Firestone Walker 805 classic LA beer. I took it from the press box, put it in my backpack, and saved it for later for this very stream. Because you know how we roll around here on Hops with Pop. You grab a beer and you talk some football. That's what we do. So let's get this tweeted out. And then we can get into a ridiculous game. All right. What's everybody drinking? We got a Pacifico, we got Stella, we got Maker's Mark, a great bourbon. Someone's drinking a cacti, which I think is Travis Scott seltzer. I heard it was pretty trash, but you do you. We got a Corona, we got a Modelo, Pacifico, Lime White Claw, Angry Orchard, Sapporo, Two Hearted. Love Two Hearted Ale. Great beer. Casamigos. Hennessy on the rocks. Chocolate milk. Okay. LaCroix. Somebody's got work tomorrow. Can't get on the beer train. Understood. Horchata and vodka. Never had that before, but hell yeah, sounds delicious. Mango Cart. Don Julio. Love it. All right. Patron. Sounds like everyone's got their drink. Let's wait for everyone to trickle in here. Seems like we're getting close to having everybody. Let me pull my notes up over here so we can get to the good stuff. All right. That was one of the craziest football games I've ever watched in my entire life. It reminded me of like that Rams-Chiefs game 2 years ago. I think it was a Sunday night game where it was just tutty after tutty after tutty after tutty. No defense being played. But you got to start this conversation about this game with Justin Herbert, number 10, because that was a truly remarkable, special performance from a quarterback who is burgeoning before our eyes. Brandon Staley said after the game that you need a superstar quarterback to win a track meet like that, and that is what Justin Herbert is. He's a superstar. And I wrote all about it. I usually do takeaways after the game where I get into all the different facets of the game, but I just felt like considering how he played, I needed to write about him. And so that's below in the description. If you don't subscribe to The Athletic, make sure you click that link and read all about Herbert's day. It's the first post-game column I've done this year because I've been doing the takeaways and you guys have liked that, but I needed to write about this guy because here's the deal. He isn't just one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. He's not an up-and-comer, right? That's over. He's here. Justin Herbert has arrived, and he is one of the best damn quarterbacks in all of football. And we've joked on here about, the regression and sophomore slump, which I've said all along is BS. You can go read my stuff from the offseason. I said, I understand where people are coming from a statistical perspective. He was really great in these very volatile areas last year, third down and under pressure. But I'm like, this guy's too good to regress. He's too good to get worse. He works too hard. He's too talented. He has it all. He has it all. And no logical person who has spent any time around Justin Herbert or watched him play football would expect him to get worse. And what has he done? He's gotten better. He's been unbelievable. He's completing 65% of his passes for 901 yards, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Add a rushing touchdown in there, and no turnovers in his last 3 games. He's elite. And the crazy part is he's only going to get better. Like, this is not the best version of Justin Herbert. I'm telling you that right now. Mark my words. This is not the best version of Justin Herbert. He can get better. And I go back to a conversation that Justin and I had during training camp. I sat down with him for a half hour. We got to chat for that story I did about him and Keenan Allen. And he was like, listen, last year during training camp, like, I was learning the basics of the position. He's like, I was learning how to take snaps from under center. I was learning how to turn my body correctly when I handed off. I was learning how to make my play action fakes and my handoffs look the same. This is stuff that a lot of quarterbacks master in college. He was learning this stuff last year, like literally a year ago. So now he has that stuff mastered. But what is it going to look like when he's in year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, when he's operating with the type of understanding and knowledge that some of these great quarterbacks have, you know? When you marry the IQ with the skill set. And we're already starting to see that. But this is the early stages of it, guys. This is the early stages. I mean, he hasn't even made 20 starts in the league yet. What is it going to look like when he's made 100 starts? And he has all of this talent, all of these physical traits, and he can marry that with a mastery of the position, which he's getting to, right? He's getting there, but he's nowhere close to where he's going to be 5 years down the road. It's scary to think about how good this guy can get. The way he's protecting the football, right? Young quarterbacks don't really do that. They don't produce at this level and push the ball downfield the way that he's pushing it downfield with avoiding turnovers. He's strong in the pocket. His feel in there is just innate. I mean, he went up against the best pass rusher in football, in my opinion. And he only got sacked once. And part of it is that the offensive line did a good job and they had a great protection plan and the chips were working and Rashawn Slater's a stud and all those things. But a lot of it is that Justin has incredible feel and poise in the pocket. And then he has the athleticism to escape. And I point to that 3rd and 5 throw he made to Keenan inside 4 minutes left. Like, Takk McKinley bull rushes Storm Norton, right? Comes screaming off the left edge. Justin sees him coming and rolls to his right, shrugs off McKinley's attempt to grab him and bring him down, rolls out to his right and throws a 40-yard missile to Keenan Allen over a leaping corner in Troy Hill and puts it on the money. Keenan catches it, toe taps it in. They score on that possession on Austin Eckler's screen. Right? There aren't many quarterbacks in the league that can do that. You have to have a gift and a feel in the pocket. And Justin Herbert has that. I said 1 sack. It might have been 2. Someone's saying it's 2. Let's look. Yeah, 2 sacks. Apologies. McDowell also had a sack. Right. So there was the Garrett sack, and then let me see when that happened. Yeah. Let me see if I have that in my notes. Right. That was second quarter, 3rd and 10. They ran a stunt with McDowell and Garrett, and McDowell got home for a sack, right? So 2 sacks. Still, point stands. You guys get what I'm saying, you know? So just an incredible performance. And, you know, we can go through all of these moments from the game, right? You know, they're down 10-7 in the second quarter, and he hits Mike Williams for a 72-yard touchdown. Now it was a busted coverage, but put it on the money touchdown. The Browns build that lead in the second half, right? Nick Chubb breaks off that 52-yard touchdown. They go up 27-13, and this game feels like it's slipping away, right? They can't stop the run. They're getting gashed. And you realize at that point that the only way they're going to stay in this game and have a chance at winning is if Justin Herbert goes God mode. And, like, that's what he did. He engineers a 14-play, 84-yard drive, right? And they get the 4th and 2 at their own 24-yard line. 4th and 2 at their own 24. Staley keeps the offense on the field. Shotgun handoff to Eckler. First down. He hits Mike Williams on a comeback route. On a 1st and 10 from inside Cleveland territory. Pressure. Escapes, throws it away, prevents a negative play. Right? Play action completes to Josh Palmer for a 7-yard gain. They get the holding call on the great route from Donald Parham. And then they have a 4th and 7 from the Cleveland 22. And Keenan runs a great route, but Justin just throws a dime and puts it on the money, sets him up with 1st and goal from the 10. And then what does he do on 2nd and goal after Eckler stuffed? Myles Garrett beats Storm Norton. He's under pressure. He escapes it, jukes multiple defenders, scores on a touchdown run. And all of a sudden, the Chargers are back in it. Brandon Staley makes the correct mathematical decision to go for 2 in that situation. And Joe Lombardi calls just an awesome play. Like, the 2-point conversion plays have been amazing. And I give Joe Lombardi a lot of credit. But they lined Keenan Allen up in the backfield as a tailback and ran him out on a flat route. The whole Browns defense flows with Keenan, thinking that they're going there. And then Donald Parham just slips right off the inline right side, little stop route right in the middle of the defense. He's wide open, 2-point conversion. Teams trade punts, right? And then on a 3rd and 5, after the 2 punts, Myles Garrett gets pressure again. Herbert rolls out to his left and throws off his back foot and hits Jalen Guyton for the first down. On the very next play, Mike Williams runs a great post route, sells the safety, thinking that he's going to run a corner, cuts back inside, wide open, touchdown. Chargers take their first lead since the first quarter. And then it's just back and forth. Defense breaks down again, and Njoku has that 71-yard catch. Nas Adderley misses a tackle. What does Justin do? He responds again, right? Hits Mike Williams on that comeback route on 3rd and 10 for a first down. They go for it on 4th and 4. He escapes pressure on that play and draws the PI. We can talk about whether it was a warranted PI or not, but Justin Herbert created that by escaping pressure and rolling out and throwing it up to Mike Williams in single coverage, putting yourself in a good position there. 3 plays later, they have a 4th and 8. Herbert hits Keenan on an in-breaking route, another great throw. They get a holding flag on the play. Eckler touchdown. Browns score again. What does Justin do? He comes back and keys that drive with that incredible throw to Keenan Allen down the right sideline. And then Chargers D finally gets to stop. And what does he do? Game-winning touchdown drive. Another great scheme from Joe Lombardi. Jared Cook gets open in the flat. Catch and run for 30 yards. And then the Browns carried Austin Eckler into the end zone, which not clear if that's actually legal. But they did. Eckler what they should have done is just taken a knee. I don't know why they handed it off. It still doesn't make sense to me. If they called the play was 32 duo alert no mas, meaning no more, don't score, do not score under any circumstances. Eckler admitted after the game he got a little guilty. He probably should have just gone down immediately. But if that's the play at that point, Cleveland was out of timeouts. Why don't you just take a knee? Now, it probably worked out because I had no trust in Tristan Vizcaino at this point. He was shanking extra points, and he looks like a mess out there. So, in my mind, scoring a touchdown made more sense because I don't want to put the game on a kicker who's clearly struggling. But then the defense comes up with a huge stop there at the end of the game. Hail Mary falls incomplete, and it's just Justin Herbert putting the team on his back, shouldering the weight of this team, and performing in really tough circumstances and pulling out a game that very few quarterbacks would have been able to pull out based on how the defense was playing. He was remarkable, spectacular. And the biggest takeaway for me from all of this is that he's just scratching the surface. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but genuinely he is just scratching the surface. Like, he's only going to get better. And because of that, the Chargers are going to be Super Bowl contenders. Now, they're not, to me, Super Bowl contenders this year. They have to shore up that defensive line. And I don't think Justin Jones coming back is enough because the good running teams are going to do what the Browns did to them today. And you're not going to be able to produce like this offensively game after game after game after game. So there's still too many holes for them to be Super Bowl contenders, but this is a playoff team, and Justin Herbert is the main reason why. All right. So that's like really where I'm at with everything. Why don't we do some questions? So just start putting them in there, and I'll get to the other topics that you guys really want to talk about from this game. What is the game plan at right guard going forward? Yeah, so apparently Ode Ibushi suffered a season-ending knee injury. Ian Rappaport reported that it's a torn ACL. We'll see. We'll get an update from Brandon Staley tomorrow, but that would be a huge loss because Ode Ibushi was having a really solid year. And part of the reason they were having a lot of success, the Chargers were, is because they just had guys up front that could play. Like they had like legitimate NFL players up front between Ode Ibushi, between Matt Filer, Corey Linsley, Rashawn Slater, right? Like they had a group up there that could perform, that was talented enough to pass protect and run block. So Schofield went in there, and I thought he played okay. I imagine he's going to be the starter there just because he's more reliable. I think ideally down the road, Brendan Hymas would develop to a point where he would take that job, but he hasn't been active, and they signed Michael Schofield, and he jumped Brendan Hymas. So I think that's an indication of sort of where Brendan Hymas is at in terms of his development. So it seems like it's going to be Schofield, but that's something that we'll get into tomorrow with Staley once we get an official word on what's going on with Ode Ibushi, and we can figure that out. But just a tough injury because I really felt like Ode Ibushi was playing at a high level. I can't even see. I'm sorry, guys. There's too many comments. So, can we talk about how atrocious kickoff returns have become? Yeah, not good. I don't really like what I see from Larry Roundtree. He looks indecisive and doesn't have the speed to really be a threat on kickoffs. I know Darius Swinton, the special teams coach, he likes what Roundtree brings in terms of his physicality and feels like he's such a tough runner that if they get him with a head of steam, he's going to be able to run through some people and give them productive kickoff returns. But the best kickoff returner on the roster is Nas Adderley. The problem is he's playing all the snaps on defense, and ideally you wouldn't want your starting safety returning kicks. So they're in a little bit of a pinch. But there's a bunch of returns in that where Roundtree was tackled inside the 20. So I'm with you on that one. Biggest player you've ever seen in person, Calais Campbell. Just an enormous human being, like shockingly big. What happened with Asante? Yeah, so he had a couple gaffes in there. I was just looking back through this before we started. So there was a busted coverage on the Browns' first touchdown of the game in early second quarter. Chris Harris was in the slot and Asante was outside, and it looked like there was a miscommunication there, and Chris wanted Asante to take the outside man. And, just based on the body language and based on what I know about the players, my guess is Asante did not do what was correct on that play because Chris Harris is just such a smart player and so seasoned that I can't imagine him making a glaring mental error like that. So that was the first thing. He stayed on the field, and the very next Browns play, Peoples-Jones caught a deep out off play action along the right sideline, and Asante tried to jump the route and make a play on the ball and missed the tackle, and then that created an explosive play down the sideline. And then after that, they effectively benched Asante and put Tavon Campbell in at outside corner and base packages and nickel packages. And Asante came back in briefly, but then he got stiff-armed on that Nick Chubb 52-yard touchdown run. And I do not believe he came back in the game after that. I believe Tavon Campbell played the rest of the snaps, just based on what I'm seeing in my notes and from what I remember seeing in the game. So, I mean, I tried to tell you guys this. You're going to have ups and downs with the rookie corner. Today was probably more of a down day than an up day. He's still playing really well. They're still getting exactly what they want out of him. But Tavon Campbell has played really well, and so they felt more comfortable with Tavon Campbell in the game. They felt like they needed to settle Asante down, but he got benched. They weren't playing well enough, and he made a couple big mistakes that led to points, and that's just the reality. But he's gonna, Someone just said in there, Asante's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. He's a rookie corner. There's gonna be mistakes, but you're trying to win football games, and if somebody is making a lot of mistakes out there, then you got to make a change. I don't think it says anything about what the organization thinks about Asante. I think he's been playing very, very well. I think, the public perception of him is maybe a little bit higher than what he's actually doing on the field. I think he's prone to some mistakes, but that's fine with a rookie corner. I don't think it's something to read into. It's just how the game played out, and he didn't have his best game. That's it. All right, what else we got here? Trevor asks if y'all talked about Herbert yet. Yeah, we talked about him for about 20 minutes. So not going to do any more Herbert talk, but you can go back into and rewatch it and get all my takes. Or if you're a reader, click the link below and subscribe to The Athletic, and you can read all of my thoughts about Herbert in some delicious prose as opposed to me rambling. What else we got? Yes, I did. People are asking about Drew Tranquil. I didn't get a chance to ask Brandon about Tranquil after the game, so I'll make sure to ask tomorrow. And then remember, guys, I'll have my final thoughts. I'll write it tomorrow, and then it usually posts Tuesday morning, and that will be like I'll just wrap everything up, tie up all the loose ends and injuries, and I'll get into the defense and all that kind of stuff. So just keep an eye out for that on The Athletic, as always. Ryan Smith, someone says Ryan Smith on punt coverage, thumbs up. Yeah, you saw immediately why they signed this guy. Like, he is an absolute stud as a gunner, just dominant. And he actually almost forced a fumble there with a big hit. I was like looking, it's so funny. I sit next to Gil at the games, Gil Manzano of the OC Register, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, Ryan Smith is single covered at gunner. And then like 10 seconds later, Ryan Smith runs down, beats a block, and just punishes the punt returner. So yeah, he's going to give him some juice on especially on punt. What else we got? Concerned about the Ravens game next week with the Chargers run defense? Absolutely. Yeah. But I will say this, Staley is going to exploit the weaknesses of Lamar Jackson. So just from a schematic perspective, like, he's going to be able to do a great job of forcing Lamar into situations that don't play to his strengths. But it doesn't matter if you can't defend the run. They'll just run the thing down your throat. So they got to dig deep and figure this out. I think not having Justin Jones is a big problem, but to me, it's just a talent issue. And listen, guys, anyone that's been watching these streams or reading me since the offseason, like, this was my number one concern heading into the season. It always was. The D-line depth just wasn't there, right? It just wasn't there. You have a 33-year-old Linval Joseph. You have Jerry Tillery, who's a much better pass rusher than he is run defender. Christian Covington is a rotational guy. I'm high on Justin Jones, but he's injury prone, and you could sort of foresee this happening. One injury, and they'd be in a really tough spot where they're relying on undrafted free agents with little experience to step up and make big plays in the running game, and that's what's happening right now. Their front is just not good enough, and they're relying on Linval Joseph to show up and be an all-pro, right, every week, and he can't do that at 33 years old. He played like an all-pro last week against the Raiders, who's freaking dominant, but he can't do that week after week after week. You're putting way too much on an aging player. So you need your younger guys to step up, and I just don't think they did enough to address it. Now, here's the situation, right? They had a lot of holes that they had to fill. And what was going to give them the best chance of succeeding this season? Was it investing heavily in the offensive line, both through the draft and free agency, or was it investing in the defensive line? And ultimately, they filled the needs that they had to fill. They needed an offensive tackle in the draft, so they took Rashawn Slater. They needed a cornerback in the draft, so they took Asante Samuel Jr., Josh Palmer, to me, feels like a luxury pick at that point. I would have liked to see them get guard depth, and now we're seeing that guard depth exposed here, but they decided not to take a defensive lineman in the draft. It was a relatively weak defensive line draft anyway. But that depth was a concern heading into the season, and now that's showing itself. Like, this is not a surprise, and I've said this before on the stream, it's not a surprise. But they can only fill so many holes, right? You can only do so much to turn your roster over. And I felt like they did, for the most part, address the things that they should have addressed first. They prioritized correctly, to me, outside of the Josh Palmer pick. And that's nothing against Josh Palmer, who I think is going to be a great player. But I felt like they could have taken a guard at that spot in the third round at pick 77, and they would have had more depth here because Hymas is not ready to play. So here's the situation. Jones is out for one more game. Sorry. So they got to go up against the Ravens without Justin Jones. So it's like, you got to dig deep. You have what you have, and you need these guys to play better. That's it, period. There's nothing more you can do, and that's why it's concerning. But you're 4-1 now. Even if you lose to the Ravens, getting through this 6-game stretch before the bye week at 4-2 is a massive win. You get Justin Jones back after the bye week. You get Kenneth Murray back. And hopefully he's healthier and playing better when he gets back on the field. And you could see a scenario where you get back to having at least a functional run defense. But that was, I've watched a lot of bad football in my life, and that was one of the worst run defense performances I've ever seen. And you got to give credit to the Browns. They're the best running team in football. They got 2 excellent backs, and the interior of that line with Bitonio and Treader and Wyatt Teller, they are freaking dominant, man. So you tip your cap. It was a mismatch talent-wise, but it's definitely a concern, and it's why I can't say, okay, the Trojans are definitely Super Bowl contenders, right? They got the quarterback. They got the head coach. I just feel like they're a year away because they need to shore up this defensive line. They need more talent up there just so they can even be league average against the run. Just not calamitous like they were today. Someone asked if you need more production from Bosa. No, he's 5th in the league in pressures. He's been playing out of his mind. Do you think Mike Williams has taken over the number 1 receiver spot from Keenan? I think it's probably 1A, 1B. Previous years it was clear 1 and 2. Mike had 16 targets. 16 targets tonight. So there's certainly a lot of trust developing between Justin Herbert and Mike Williams. But let's think about some of this, right? Let's see. Let me go back into my notes real quick. So the 4th and 7 on the gotta have it drive just before Justin Herbert scored his scramble touchdown. That goes to Keenan. 4th and 8, right before Eckler's touchdown that tied the game at 35. That goes to Keenan. The 3rd and 5. When they go ahead 42-41 on Eckler's screen pass, that goes to Keenan Allen. Right? So it's still Keenan in money downs. So I don't necessarily think that Mike has jumped him as the number 1 receiver. The production certainly says that, but I think it's 1A, 1B right now, which is really that's what you want. If you want to be a high-powered offense, you got to have 2 guys that can do it. And the beauty of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen is that they have very different skill sets and they offer different things. So it's all aces. So I get these questions a lot, and we need to have a broad conversation about this. A lot of people ask me, well, why don't the Chargers just go sign a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman? There are none. That's why they don't do it, because it's the middle of the season, all the good players are already signed. There isn't just like a good player sitting out there on his couch. That doesn't exist. So that's why the offseason is the offseason. That's why it's important to build your roster through the draft. Because once you get in the middle of the season, it's not like you can just go pluck a starting caliber 3 technique defensive tackle off a tree. Like, they don't exist. They're not signing guys because they aren't out there. And that's why building your roster in the offseason is so crucial. Arjun asked if I'm worried about Keenan's drops. He's dropping more balls than he ever has. So it's noteworthy, but he's still making ridiculous contested catches, and he's still very reliable. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I'm going to ask some people this week just to figure out what exactly is going on, because it does feel like his hands aren't up to par with how they usually are. I wouldn't say concerned. I would say, it's noteworthy and probably something that I should do some digging on just to see. Tebow on the D-line. Yeah, definitely. Chargers need to re-sign Mike Williams at this point, right? We'll see what happens. They're not going to do a deal during the season. That goes against, organization precedent. We are global. Someone says we're global. We're global. Yo, if you're international watching the stream, throw your country in the chat so we can just show everyone that we are global here in Hops the Pop. We got Mexico in the house. Is that Costa Rica? Oscar, the chat is too small and my eyesight's bad. I can't see that. That looks like a Costa Rican flag. We got the grand country of Oregon from Jordan. Shout out. We got Canada. We got Argentina. We got Ireland. We got Syria in the house. We got the UK in the house. We got Ottawa, Canada. We got Switzerland in the house. We got South Korea in the house. We got Colorado in the house. Oklahoma in the house. Philippines in the house. New Zealand in the house. Cambodia in the house. Hong Kong in the house. Norway in the house. Texas in the house. All right, now I feel like you guys are just like putting countries in there, so I'll say it. El Salvador in the house. Rhode Island. Shout out Rhode Island. My whole mom's side of my family is from Rhode Island. Gloucester, Rhode Island. We got Jamaica. All right, now you guys are just screwing with me. All right. I will do 3 more questions. 3 more questions. 3 more questions. 1, 2, 3. A trifecta of questions. Three good ones. When do you see Brian Bulaga coming back? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be before the bye week. And we'll just have to see after the bye week. I have a lot of concern because this was a debilitating back injury last year for Bulaga that forced him to miss a lot of games, and it has reoccurred here in some fashion. And the way he talked about this back issue during training camp, it sounded pretty gnarly. So the fact that it popped back up is not good. So I would phrase it like this. I think you all should prepare for an extended amount of Storm Norton. And listen, Storm is battling his ass off. Like, I give him a lot of credit. Is he an elite right tackle? No. But he's playing really hard, and he's going up against some really, really good rushers. I mean, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Chris Jones, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and he's like winning reps. He's not getting destroyed. And I think he's improving game to game as a young player. He had a kid yesterday and was on the field battling his ass off. So I give him a lot of credit. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be an elite player or like like significantly above average player. Maybe he does get there, but I like his attitude. I like the way he plays. He really battles, and he's giving him enough right now. And with the way Rashawn Slater's playing at left tackle, like, you don't need an elite player at right tackle. Rashawn's literally telling the running backs, "Don't chip. I want to take Myles Garrett on one-on-one." And he can do it. He can go up against any edge rusher in football one-on-one and win consistently. And so you can help. You can send all your help to the right side. And that's really what they did in this game. They were chipping the shit out of Myles Garrett and Takk McKinley. And they did enough to avoid disaster. And on top of all that, right, Justin Herbert is just a savant in terms of his feel in the pocket and feel for pressure. And so you can avoid disaster. So, yeah, I don't think that's, to me, is not a major concern for this team right now. Storm Norton is playing well enough. They're doing enough to help him. Justin Herbert is doing enough to evade pressure. It hasn't been a disaster so far. The issues right now are with the run defense. That's really where you got to focus your attention. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of kicker situation stuff. Listen, Vizcaino is an immensely talented kicker. He's got a huge leg, and they love what he does for them in the kickoff department. But he's missing kicks right now. And I told you guys after the Chiefs game, I was like, win was really gnarly. Let's wait till he gets to kick in a less vicious environment and see how he does. And today, I mean, he shanked one of those extra points, and it seems like he's in his head right now. And so Staley said after the game, like, "Hey, listen, we really believe in this kid. He's really talented. We think he's going to be a really good kicker." And I was like, at what point, though, does it get to be too much? Do the growing pains get to be too much? I'm like, you're 4-1. You got a really good football team, and you need to win games, and you need to make kicks to win games. At what point does it get untenable? And Brandon said, "Listen, that's a really good point, and I'm hearing it. We really believe in this guy. I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't actually believe in this guy. And those are conversations we'll have to have down the road. But we are willing to deal with these growing pains for now. But let me tell you this, guys. This is the freaking NFL. All right, this is pro football. And you can't have that long of a leash with a kicker who's missing kicks. I don't care how talented he is. I don't care how far he can kick it. You need a guy that's going to come in there and make kicks for you. Simple. And, maybe the Chargers end up moving on from Tristan Vizcaino and he ends up being an excellent kicker somewhere else. But right now, he's not a great kicker. He's not making kicks. And I can't imagine they're going to have that much longer of a leash if he continues to miss extra points like he's missing them right now. So it's an issue, 100%. And it's something that we have to monitor here moving forward. Okay. All right. I see a good question, but it's kind of general. I can do that one if I don't see any other good questions in here. Trade for Fletcher Cox. I don't think that's an awful idea. I don't know if he's available though. I did see the comments from him earlier this week where he was like saying that they're using him incorrectly or he's playing multiple positions or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Nahum is saying that to trade for D-line help. Yeah, I mean, Telesco traditionally doesn't make a lot of deadline moves. He's typically averse to trading draft picks for aging players, which I think is a sound approach. But it really depends on what the Chargers see as their potential this season. If they feel like the Super Bowl is within reach, then maybe trading for a guy like that, giving up a whatever it is, a third round pick, whatever it is, maybe it's worth it because you've got this momentum going with the season. All right. The last question I'm answering is, what kind of contract has Derwin James played himself to? $100 million contract. Yeah. He's going to sign the most lucrative contract ever given to a safety. I can guarantee you that right now, as long as he doesn't get hurt. But that's how he's playing right now. All right. That's all I got for you guys. Make sure that you're subscribed to The Athletic. Link below is my column on Justin Herbert. Go read that. We have a presser with Brandon Staley tomorrow at 1:15, and I'll make sure to ask about a bunch of the stuff that you guys are asking about. Drew Tranquil update. We'll get an O'Day update. Make sure you're following me on Twitter for any news updates. And then tomorrow I will write the final thoughts. They'll either be up tomorrow night or we'll do them Tuesday morning. I'll tie all this stuff up. Today was all about Justin Herbert. Tomorrow I'll get into the defense and some of the issues there and the kicking situation and some of these injuries and all that kind of stuff. And as anyone's been reading these final thoughts, I go really deep into the stats and give you guys, all the numbers that are crucial to understanding where this team is right now. But 4-1, first place in the AFC West, and one of the best damn quarterbacks in the NFL in Justin Herbert. So a lot to be happy about if you are a Chargers fan. I really appreciate all of you for joining me on the stream. Once again, make sure you subscribe to The Athletic. The link is right below for my column on Justin Herbert, and I will talk to you guys next week. Peace out.